Thank you, Laska Hurley. I too would like to welcome the Minister back to the House this afternoon, and would like to express my sincere sympathy and that of my colleagues to the families of those who have died tragically by suicide in recent times. I would also like to pay tribute to Jonathan Pugsley, who was here at the briefing this afternoon, and I think, it's a great tribute and testament to the man, and it's invaluable help to those of us here to listen to the story, and gives us a further insight into perhaps helping to avoid future situations. So I must say it's a very unselfish act on behalf of these parents who do come forward afterwards. The fact that we're here in the House discussing the issue of cyberbullying, and again I must pay tribute to my Fine Gael colleagues for bringing the motion to the House this evening. Just recently we had a debate on homophobic bullying. The coverage in the media of the recent tragic deaths of the teenagers and the outcry following that, the report published by the Ombudsman on bullying in recent weeks, Minister Shatter's statement on cyberbullying last week, and Minister Fitzgerald's meeting with Facebook management to discuss online safeguards for children, and indeed the series on RTE television, which concluded last night, Bully Proof, have all focused our minds on the far-reaching and serious repercussions of bullying of all forms. I would like to commend the Minister for the work done to date on tackling the issue of bullying in schools with the establishment of the Anti-Bullying Forum, and I await with great interest the action plan, which hopefully will be published before Christmas. As a former teacher, I know that schools have been engaged in establishing school policies to deal with bullying for a number of years now, and that all schools are obliged to include it in their school planning. The Department of Education Inspectorate does evaluate, advise and give support on anti-bullying measures in inspections of SPHE, CSPE and RSE programmes in schools. Primary schools all have to implement the Stay Safe programme, a personal safety skills programme for primary children, which aims to reduce vulnerability to child abuse and bullying through the provision of personal safety education. We certainly need schools to evaluate the efficacy of their current anti-bullying programmes and to develop a whole school approach to the issue. The Ombudsman report says that 10,000 children every day struggle to go to school because of bullying. That's a pretty staggering figure, I think, and it doesn't even take into account the unreported cases or those children who are suffering in silence. And I must say that in my teaching career, they're the ones that I found it was so difficult to deal with. But just as an aside, I remember one particular student that I had who, over the course of a whole year, you could see the child becoming more and more withdrawn. Just little things. You could see weight coming off, and you try and say to her, are you okay? Or maybe you could sense by them they don't like to be singled out and they don't like to be approached at all. So you have to be very, very careful in how you deal with it. But I remember just one evening, I actually had them last class, and she was heading out at 3:45, and I said, are you okay? And I knew that was the moment. You have to give them the time to know when they want to come forward. And I remember the following day going in, and there was a letter, and she wrote the longest letter, and the most it was just heartbreaking. And again, it was kind of before cyberbullying, if you like, was out in force. But it wasn't, and it was as Senator Power said, girls can be particularly cruel, and you couldn't say she wasn't physically hurt, she wasn't particularly even verbally abused, but it was the mental, the isolation and the feeling of not belonging, and castigating in it. And I would say, where some would say, oh, more bullying goes on outside schools, I think there's an awful lot of bullying does go on in school, and it goes on in it does originate in school, and it can go on in very, I don't know, kind of, it doesn't always have to be, some people tend to think that it's, a particular class or a particular type of child, or it can be the cleverest girl in the school, it can be, the richest girl in the school, it can be the poorest girl. There's no discrimination. It can be rich or poor, clever or not so clever. It can be the talented girl or the not so talented. And I think that's where we need the whole school approach, where we need everybody, to look on it. I've just gone way off my speech there, but anyway.
Time, about 1 minute.
Well, I think so too. I think so too. But what I wanted to say was all forms of bullying can be tackled effectively if the whole school community is involved. And I think that's, so important, that we have students, parents, teachers, principals and the boards of management all together. Adequate in-service teaching has to be provided and offered. And the easy bit is, I think, setting up these courses and saying, OK, we're going to have in-service courses for the teachers. And then, OK, now we're going to have an anti-bullying policy in school. But the difficult part is engaging with the whole community, with getting everybody involved, so that everyone feels that they have ownership of the decisions made and that they've been included right from the start. Parents in particular, I think, need to have the tools to recognise the early signs that their child is being bullied, or perhaps that their child is the bully, and knowing how to deal with it. There is no doubt that parents and schools are struggling with the whole area of cyberbullying, and I do welcome, the measures that are in place at the moment. When the Department of Education started to fund the WebWise Integrated Education Initiative in 2006, the world, however, was a very different place. Schools could put internet safety controls in place on the school equipment and block harmful content. At home, parents could do the same and keep a careful eye on the family computer, because normally there was only one computer and it sat in the middle of the living room, or it sat in an common area where everybody used it. However, now, thanks to all our iPhones and phones, we can't get off it 24/7. I know I can't remember the last time I switched off my phone, and I know even I remarked to my own children last night when we were sitting down, you try to watch a programme and there's a constant click of a phone or a text or something going off, and it's just, it's never ending. Do you know, I have so much more that I wanted to say, but
I'll save it for another occasion.
Have I any time?
Your time is up, actually.
All.
But, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'd love if maybe we can come back to it. Can I just one sentence just say at the end that I did want to say? Sometimes I think that schools, if there are bullies or if there is, bullying going on, and there is terrific work going on in schools. I mean, I think we have to remember that. And there are terrific teachers out there who do it above and beyond. They're not the CSPE or the SPE teachers, and I've said this before, that they shouldn't be made to go in and teach subjects that, or teach SPHE just because there's a gap in the timetable. But sometimes they see it as a weakness if there's bullying identified, but I think it should be seen as a sign of strength in a school, that they are facing up to the fact that they have bullying and that they're doing something about it. Thank you.
Senator Van Turnout.